listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hey there, everybody. This is Sarah, your host of the No Labels, No Limits podcast, and I am super excited to be back with you this week with another great guest. We've been chatting a little bit before the podcast, so I know he can talk on so many different things. I'm excited to introduce him to you, but what I'd like to do is share a quote of his. I'll give you a little bit of bio around him, and then we'll bring him on. And I really liked this quote, and it is that we are all capable of more than we think we are, and we can all learn to take on thriving mindset to accomplish any goal we set for ourselves and get through adversity as quickly as necessary. So let that sink in a bit. We've heard versions of that as little kids. You can be anything you want to be. That's different. This is talking about adversity and getting through it. Our guest today is Bill Murphy, and he has written a book, came out last October, called Thriving in the Storm, 9 Principles to Help You Overcome Any Adversity. And I really, when I was researching it and I was looking at what other people had to say about the book who've read it, and I liked this quote from a psychologist and PhD, Dr. Gene King, who said, "Thriving in the storm is a testament to the virtue and strength of human spirit." Bill Murphy speaks from the heart and offers exercises that represent a practical philosophy of success. It's that combination of practical and philosophy that appeals to me, because I love the theoretical, but then it's like, how does it play in real life? And he's made the bestseller list multiple times in multiple venues. So I'll bring Bill on in a second, but I also want to tell you just a little more detail about him, and it's not that short. So Bill has overcome PTSD from abusive childhood, countless mental health challenges, and unexpected crises. And today, he's in a different space. Although he and I going live, we're talking about how that space is never static. You know, we come up, we come down. But he went on to earn his bachelor's degree in psychology from Worcester State University, a master's in counseling psychology from Framingham State University, and become a nationally recognized mortgage originator, and has been at the top producer for over 25 years. So it's easy to get to the top, but to maintain the top, that's not so easy, especially if you're dealing with adversity and changes and challenges. He has served as a business coach for the Fairway Ignite program. He's worked as a juvenile counselor for the Worcester State Department of Youth Services, and he's raised over $500,000 for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he continues to support several charities. I love that because, you know, I like the nonprofit world and I love working with my folks in the nonprofit world. And he founded a nonprofit, the Thrive Foundation. Now, as interesting and laudable as all of that is, he's finished an Ironman. He earned a black belt in Krav Maga, and he ran the Boston Marathon, not once, not twice, but 5 times, and once on crutches. And don't you know, we're going to talk about the crutches, because I can't conceive of doing that long on crutches. Actually, I can't do it myself on feet. So Bill knows firsthand, though, that when the storm hits, you have 3 choices: give up, become a victim, or do what you can to survive, learn, and thrive. He says he's a regular guy, but he's thriving at the top of his profession, recognizing that the top shifts a bit. And he reminds us we don't have to have exceptional talents and resources to overcome adversity, to be resilient, or achieve extraordinary goals. We're all capable of more than we realize, and we can learn from Bill. So that's our goal today, is I want to learn from Bill. So I'm going to ask him some things about running the marathon on crutches, breaking the funk, you know, that thing that seeps in and grabs our attention sometime, that outer us versus the inner us, moving through adversity, why he believes we're capable of more than we even believe we are. And there's one thing I do want to talk to him about, and that is why he says positivity is the superhuman power. So with all of that as an intro, let's welcome Bill Murphy to the show. Welcome, Bill.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah, for that warm introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, I've been looking forward to speaking with you just because there's something about like that when I researched, you've just got an interesting energy for me. Like it's a positive energy, it's a real energy. It feels very ground, like you're just real. You don't feel like fluff and flash. But I do, but one thing you shared in sending information to us is you said you had an interest in biohacks, which I've been learning about those and really at different levels. I wouldn't say I know a lot, but I'm so interested in what you are learning or trying to learn right now and what you're working on.
Yeah, well, so biohack is, just improving overall wellness and health, right? So here's where it starts. If, we can check all the boxes of our dreams and goals on where we want to be, right? And if we're not healthy, then all those dreams and aspirations are out the window. I mean, when we're healthy, we have 1,000 dreams. When we're not, we have one dream, and that's to be healthy. So, longevity and lifestyle and all that plays into this. So like biohacking, a lot of times people, I think some of the myths about biohacking is you have to buy some fancy equipment with red lights and saunas and cryotherapy and all sorts of stuff. Yes, those are biohacks. But a real free biohack is probably the best biohack that we could all use, and it's transformational, and that's gratitude and journaling. And putting it together, journal your gratitude, or give those thoughts of journaling. And so that's proven to just change your physiology. That's proven to change your emotions. I mean, you don't need a pill to do this, right? You can get a pen and paper and do this every single day, morning and night, 5 minutes tops, and you could feel pretty damn good about the way your day starts and the way your day ends, just by just giving some gratitude thoughts. But where I got into the biohacking was, and you mentioned this earlier about the marathon on crutches. I was training for the Boston Marathon, and I was 60 days out, and it was during COVID. So they moved the marathon, which is typically on a Patriots Day in Massachusetts in April, to October. And so it was in August, and I was walking down my stairs, and when I missed the two bottom stairs, and I tore my quad like instantly. I just landed wrong, tore my quad, and it was the most excruciating pain that I've ever had. It was like the quad actually detached from the knee and rolled up into the hip, if you can imagine. It was so bad that the bulge in my leg, when I touched it, I thought it was the bone, but it was actually the tendon, kind of sticking up. So it was just really, really painful. So I went into surgery the next day. And so my doctor says, there's no way you can do. And I said, hey, I got to do this for Make-A-Wish. I got to, I want to run. If I can't run it, can I walk it? He's like, you're not walking for any time soon. And you're not. I said, what about crutches and all sorts of stuff? He says, no, absolutely not. You can't do any of this stuff. So 60 days out. And so day one, I'm sitting in my recliner because I couldn't even make it up the stairs to, the bedroom. So I'm sitting in my recliner and just trying to figure out a way to get better and do this marathon on crutches. Well, the Boston Marathon says no. Everybody says no. Liability. What are you, crazy? You're still recovering from the drugs you were on when you were put out for the surgery. And I probably was. But here's the thing. I said, you know what? I committed to these kids and raising money for Make-A-Wish. And this was my fifth time doing this for the Make-A-Wish organization. So I can bail. And even Make-A-Wish said, we'll give you a roster spot next year on the team. And I said, no, wait a second. Like, these kids don't have a choice with their diagnosis. And so I don't have a choice because I committed to this. So we're going to figure this out. So we ended up getting a venue at my old alma mater, and we did a virtual marathon on crutches around the track, around the football track. And so where biohacking comes in is I'm like, I have to heal super fast and figure this out. And so I started the red light therapy. I started, lymphatic massage drainage. I started, the the stims, acupuncture, infrared sauna. Like I was doing everything just to try to heal anything anti-inflammatory, like turmeric and bone broth, and everything that was anti-inflammatory was what I was subscribing to try to get this rolling. So that's how the biohack had evolved, and that was a couple years ago. So to this day, like I biohack my journaling, but I also have some fun biohacks that I use. Like I'm on a chair right now that has a infrared, it's an infrared heat pad, and it's wonderful by Higher Dose. So like, I'm always trying to hack some things. I feel better. And the doctor told me when we finished the marathon on crutches, he told me, he said, I was 50 years old. He said, I've never seen a 25-year-old heal, or anyone heal as fast as you did. It's whatever you're doing it right. And so I didn't run the marathon. I didn't walk the marathon. I did it on crutches. So that's the biohacking story. So now I'm always playing around with different things and do cold plunges and cryotherapy and all that fun stuff.
How much of that, like when he was saying he's never even seen a 25-year-old heal this quickly, right? How much of, or what portion of your healing would you attribute both to your mindset versus the physical changes you were adding? Like, did you believe how much did you have to stay positive? Like, this is working. It's working.
The mindset was 90% everything.
Okay.
The can-do attitude, because I wanted to quit. My dog was my running partner, so she always ran with me right on the trails, and we'd always run. So we started crutching around my pool. And how boring, but her tail was wagging, so she was my motivation. But we were crutching around the pool, and the first day that I did it, I was chafed and bleeding under my arms. My leg was killing me, and I calculated that if I was to do this marathon on crutches, it was going to take me 15 hours to get it done. And I was like, this is just going to be grueling. Like, I don't know if I could do this. So that was day one. We did it for a half hour. Day two, we did it for 45 minutes. Day three, we did it for, an hour. And then, then I went on the road with my dog, and I went on the road, and people will be like, what are you doing? You're on crutches. You're gonna get killed, get hit by a car and all this other stuff. And I was just like, I just needed to keep moving and say I could do this to prove it to myself. So the attitude was everything. And then I needed to surround myself with people that could believe in me and lift me up. So I told Make-A-Wish, I said, get on board. We're going to get this done. I told, I coach and I'm coached. And I told all my coaches, whether it was my trainers or my executive coaches or whatever, I was like, I need you to back me on this. I told my friends, I told my family, just support me. I don't ever want to hear that this is going to be impossible. It's going to be hard to do. So the mind absolutely came into play. And to take that a step further, I did a lot of meditation, which is kind of a biohack. And I meditated and I visualized the healing and getting and the success of the marathon on crutches.
Okay, so that was a lot. And where were you in writing your book during this time?
In the middle of it.
Uh-huh.
It was almost done. So the last chapter was written when I was going through this. And that chapter was called Success to Significance. And it was just like so serendipitous how things play out. Like I just went through the most painful exercise that I wouldn't wish on anybody. But so many things happened. I raised quadruple the amount of money that I would have raised if I just ran in Boston for the marathon. And I quadrupled that what I would have raised because of the awareness that I did and the news coverage that I received. All the major news channels were at the marathon covering it, and so people just donated to Make-A-Wish because this crazy guy on crutches is killing himself doing this. I'm going to give to this cause of Make-A-Wish. So it brought attention to it, but the success to the significance. Yes, I've enjoyed a little bit of success in business. I've enjoyed a little bit of success, with my philanthropic efforts individually. But the significance is when you can make it impactful on everybody else. And so that's me modeling for my kids to say that to show them that I said I was going to do something. I'm going to do it. And it's for a cause greater than what I stand for. And that was, this Make-A-Wish organization. These kids don't have a choice. So, we brought awareness, and we raised a heck of a lot of money for the organization. And, my kids got to be a part of it. So that was, yes, I enjoyed a little bit of success in my life, stumbling and crawling and failing forward a lot. But the significance is modeling that for my kids and others.
That takes my breath away a little bit, just because you mentioned a couple of things in there about knowing that they didn't have a choice, but you did, and you could have chosen to quit. No shame. No one would have said anything crummy about you, right? But you couldn't, because that was part of you. But you also shared about the accountability that book provided for you, right? It's like, it is putting the pedal to the metal. It's like, okay, if you believe these things, let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, a great point. Well, so that's adversity, right? So the whole book was about 9 principles of getting through adversity as quickly as you can. Well, if I sat on my recliner and stayed on the medication that was prescribed to me, and even self-medicated, with whatever, and gave an excuse to eat whatever I wanted, and said, you know what, I'm down and out for a while. I have a prescription that says I can just chill and not pursue anything. I get a free pass. No one's gonna crucify me for that. But I said, how can we get through this as fast as we possibly can? And I wrote about it. And if I just stayed laid up, then I'm a hypocrite. And I couldn't live with myself releasing that into the world and say, hey, get through your adversity as fast as you can, where I didn't do anything about it.
So what was the motivation? Because you hadn't hurt yourself at this point. So what was the motivation for writing the book in the beginning?
Pretty funny. So you and I talked on camera prior to this about the Enneagram 3, right? And so the Enneagram 3, you help me phrase this, but because I know you're the expert in this, and you are the expert there, is you have a lot of self-doubt, and you look around and you're like, am I worthy? Should I be here? Do I belong here? So that's where I journaled. My book was comprised of journal notes for years, right? And I usually journaled after a workout, in the morning after a workout, and then at night, or a combination of those three. And I remember when I did my first Ironman, I'm looking around at all these incredible athletes, and I'm saying, man, these guys are talking a language I don't understand. They're talking nutrition I don't understand. They're talking performance I don't understand. They're talking about a course I don't understand. Like, I barely dressed properly for this event. And I'm like, I don't know if I belong here. And then I had to snap out of it. Yes, they're human. You're human. Let's go. You put in the training, you put in the work. You are capable of way more than you give yourself credit for. So I have to shift. that doubt, that unworthiness feeling, and then take that to the, I'm going to compete and I'm going to give it my best. And there was a phrase, and I know you're a big mantra person. I love the mantras, right? So I always try to play games with my own mantras. So there's a category, and I study this about, if there was 3,000 people, there was about 500 people that don't finish, right? So there's a good percentage. And I said, and it says, did not finish or did not qualify. It means you may have finished, but you didn't meet it in the time. So I just said, I'm not a DNFer. I'm not a DNFer, did not finish it. I'm not a DNFer. I'm not a DNFer. I'm not a DNFer. I'm not a DNFer. I mean, it's kind of negative in a way, but it's like, I will not ever quit. I'm not going to quit. I will not be a DNFer. So however much pain or whatever obstacles I encounter along the way, I will not quit. And that was my mantra. I'm not a DNFer.
So how did that translate into, not being a DNFer, translating into going down the journey of writing a book, which is in and of itself, not an easy thing to do.
Well, it was about we are capable of way more than we believe.
Okay.
So that's how that started. And then it went into the whole adversity piece. Then we kind of bankrolled that into the adversity piece of you have three choices. You could have a victim mentality where you just lay down in bed, hit the snooze button 5 times because you either had a bad day or you have a bad day ahead of you that you're perceiving, or you could be in survival mentality or mindset and you'd be like, hey, how you doing today? Surviving. I'm surviving, getting by, just coasting, so that's not really helping anybody. And it's not helping you. Yes, you're sleepwalking your way through life in that particular moment and surviving. Great. But the thriving mindset is where the magic happens and where you can really feel good about yourself. And that's the self-actualization, that Maslow's hierarchy. And that's where you hit achievement in spite of, the cards that you've been dealt. And that's kind of where we go with that thriving mindset. So you got those three choices. So it started off, you're capable of way more than you think you are. And then when you're in the storm, hey, are you a victim? Are you surviving? Or are you thriving? Now, listen, each adversity has to be, you have to process and even maybe grieve some of the adversities that you face. Let's face it. If you had a loss in your life, I don't expect you to say, let's go get them today. I mean, you have to process it, but you can grieve and process and still be productive.
They're not mutually exclusive to be grateful and to grieve, because even in the grief, sometimes there's those things like, oh, I'm so happy we had these moments together, or this happened. And I'm reflecting back just on the last 6 months in my immediate family's life where we've lost 4 people, and they're not all, thankfully, all like direct ones once removed, but they're still all family members, and love. And then sometimes, so you're sad, but then you're thinking, oh my God, I remember doing this with that person. So there's the opportunity to be grateful for those moments, recognizing the sadness and the loss at the same time. How many folks do you think, when you're working with them and coaching them, or in your collective group that you hang with, how many folks fall into the trap of one of those 3 more than another? Or the bucket of one? So like, how many folks tend to be in the like, oh, I'm just surviving?
Oh, that's a great question. So I do want to talk about this. So I work with a lot of folks that are high achievers, and then I work with some that want to be high achievers and have they all had one thing come, they have some success, right? The one thing, when they're all stuck, the ones that are stuck, this is great. The ones that are stuck spin their wheels and they don't know how to get out of it. They tell themselves. The ones that are high achievers that are stuck are figuring it out. What can I do next? What is the next best thing I can do now? Like, they have that common denominator, like the thriving mindset that we talk about. They are always looking to get to the other side. And okay, I can't open this door, it's locked, but I can run through the wall. So whatever that takes, they do. I find the ones that are stuck in their own circumstances, the door's locked. Man, I'll try it in 5 minutes. I'll try it in an hour. Maybe I'll call somebody later to see if they can unlock that door, but I'm not running through that wall. That's too hard. I can't figure that out. So I'm just trying to paint the picture as being stuck and staying stuck and kind of almost giving yourself an excuse to stay there because of the circumstances, rather than figure it out. There's got to be another way. And a coach told me years ago, and this was the best advice I ever got from a coach when I was going through some stuff. This was probably 10, 15 years ago. He said, you can't do anything about these circumstances right now. It's kind of like the serenity prayer. You can't do anything about what you can't control. But what is the next best thing you can do right now in this moment? And I've never forgotten that. And I'm always thinking okay, I'm up against it. We're up against it. We can't do it this way, but we can do it this way. This is the next best alternative. So I find that there's a common denominator there.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. And sometimes I think it's easy to get stuck if we think the way we planned on doing it is the only way or even the best way. Because sometimes getting stuck opens us up, like, what's the next best thing? That next best thing might even be better, right?
Yeah.
You didn't think of it. It was just like a stopgap, but then someone else came in, something else happened. So we can get stuck in this mindset of like, I planned it, it's supposed to happen this way. And if it's not happening this way, I'll wait until it does, right? It's like, okay, even something as simple as like, go do the dishes, do something, right? Get the momentum, because that inertia does nothing for us.
So great points, Sarah. So really what we want to do is program ourselves to always look for the alternative in our situation. What is that? So always have plan B. Just have plan B ready, or know that there needs to be a plan B if you don't have it ready. Because does anything ever go the way we plan it? No, it's not a straight line to hitting your achievement. You're going to zig, you're going to zag, you're going to fall. And so while you're falling, you're going to have to course correct. And that's plan B, plan C, plan D. You're going to keep figuring it out. And that's why we quit so many times and don't continue with our goal, is because we get so far off course and we don't try to course correct. We say, you know what? It's not meant. How about this one? It's not meant to be. Surviving, getting by, not meant to be.
Yeah, I always think when I hear that said, I think it's not meant to be the way you planned it, but it's meant to be some way, right?
Yeah.
Just stay open.
Yeah.
And that really means we have to have a growth mindset, be willing to pivot, be willing to not be the smartest person in the room, right? Maybe someone else has a great idea.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of fun. If you can start making a game out of it. I told my husband the other day, sometimes it's great to be wrong. Because he said, you were mistaken. And I said, I know, sometimes it's so great to be wrong. And he goes, say that again. I said, it's true, because I didn't know there was a different way to do that until you showed it to me. And I'm thinking, that was great. I learned something today.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like gamifying things that are hard. I play games with myself all the time and like training. So right now I'm in a pretty arduous training regimen. We were doing another Ironman, right? And so on the weekends I have to do a lot of I have to get a lot of hours in my runs. And I don't listen to music. I listen to books or podcasts. So the way I look at it is like, instead of saying, damn, I got 3.5 hours of a run tomorrow, I'm not really looking forward to it. You know what? And this actually happened, Sarah. I was running on Sunday and I had a 3.5 hour run. And I said, you know what? I'm going to listen to Sarah's podcast for 3.5 hours and get prepared for this episode. And so I listened to running. What's that?
I got to go running with you.
Yeah. So I listened to a bunch of your podcasts, cool. Moments with Maria and everything, for 3.5 hours on Sunday. And it was like, but the other way to look at it is like, oh man, there's no way. It's cold out. We had you and I were talking earlier in our area. We had record temperature. It was freezing, record cold temperatures. And like, I could have made the survival or victim into like, no one's going to crucify me if I don't run today because it's freezing outside. I was like, no, I can listen to these podcasts because I want to be prepared. And I love your show. I'm a follower now. And I gave you the 5-star rating too, because I'm a big fan.
Aw. What's interesting though about saying that is I walk every day with my dog, and I have, like I've said, I'll be back. I'm just doing the short loop, right? Which is not that long of a walk. And then I could be 3 times as long. And my husband goes, what happened to you? I says, well, I was listening to this really great interview and I really didn't want it. I don't want to come home till it's done, right? Well, it was an 1.5-hour interview. I'm thinking, that's how long we're walking. So I do think that those kind of mind games and having fun with things lightens everything up. Yes. So let's talk about your book, because I do want to talk about it. I find that whole principles and getting through adversity and the things that when I read when I internalize what you're talking about, it really is about busting through limiting labels and beliefs so that we can be more and do more, or just show up as who we're supposed to be without saying, oh, that's too hard, I can't do it, or I don't know enough. or who am I? All of that stuff. So will you walk us through a little bit of the structure of the book and a couple of the principles, if we haven't already touched on the main ones for you?
Yes. So the first chapter in the book is make peace with your past. And that has two components of making peace with your past. And one is forgive those who have wronged you or who have perceived wronged you. And in addition to forgiving, if you can get to that point and you're already there, and you've done the work, the healing, send blessings. Okay? No ill will. You got to let go because that will keep you stuck. The other part of that is, what is your unfinished business or regrets you may have had that it's still not too late to do some sort of version of that today. So make peace with your past on your regrets, make peace with your past on maybe somebody that, it could even be something inconsequential that has had you stuck. You could have been bullied in the third grade because you wore glasses and someone said, hey, you're wearing glasses and we don't wear glasses, you're a nerd. And then you never knew that bothered you, but it bothers you to this day subconsciously. So you might have to do some reflecting and unpacking, but there may be some things that you need to let go. We're so quick to have New Year's resolutions. We're so quick to set goals. But how can we go forward if we have so much stuff, baggage holding us back and holding us down, and we don't forgive this person and this person wronged me, and I'm not healing and I'm not dealing with my own trauma, and I have a lot of unfinished business and regrets. Like, why are we going to jump in the goal setting process if we haven't unpacked some of the stuff that keeps us stuck? It's our baggage. Now we need to make it luggage on wheels, right? So we can at least move forward. And you're not able to do that. And I see all these courses and all beautiful, awesome courses about planning ahead. And so I did this exercise with a room full of real estate agents last week, and they were in tears, and they were talking about their stories, and they said that we are so quick to do our New Year's resolutions, but there's no direction, and that's why they fail, because there's so many things behind us that we just have to settle. And if you were able to just do that unfinished business work quickly, and in a process where we heal, or maybe it's not quick, maybe you have to get with a therapist, maybe you have to really dive deep and have those sit downs, but at least go through the process, then you're able to be a little bit more free in setting yourself up. So that's making peace with your past. And I think it's pretty powerful, because you gave the introduction about my toxic childhood. My dad did some really, really awful things, and people will be like, are you okay with him? Are you good? I forgive. I send blessings every day. Don't talk a lot. I may see him on Father's Day awkwardly. We don't talk a lot, but I don't have any ill will. Like, I don't hate him. I don't wish bad. And when we feel victimized, oftentimes we're wishing the fate of another person to go down a bad hole. Oh boy. If you want to keep stuck, you want to stay stuck, you want victim mentality, you can't bet and root for karma. And the term karma is a bee is like, I cringe, because I'm like, you're setting yourself up by giving that negative energy out there. Like, stop, let it go. Like, the universe will take care of the universe and whatever needs to be taken care of. You take care of yourself and just be good with everything and heal. So that was one principle.
That's a foundational principle.
Yeah.
Because the energy that it takes to maintain that heaviness around another person and lug them with you everywhere you go it's smothering. It's so heavy, and so how do you be light if all you can think about is wah, 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 I wish they would do X, Y, and Z? It's like, they're not going to do it. You're wishing it. They're not even thinking about you. Move on, right? Clear it up. process it, get help if you need, and recognize it, don't minimize it, but we're here for things other than what has been our past, right? Yeah. Your uniqueness came through regardless of your past. Yeah. Or maybe in spite of it, I don't know.
A little bit of both. Stay away from the drama and the gossip. If you find yourself gossiping and in drama, remove yourself as fast as you can. And if you're the leader of that, then check yourself and stop talking to those people. And be aware of the folks that you are talking to about it. If you're standing around the water cooler complaining about your boss and complaining about life and the weather and whatever else, I mean, check yourself. And then find people that can lift you up and make sure you're lifting others up. It will change how you look at things. If the 5 of you are just in drama and gossip mode, then you're going to stay there.
Well, it just attracts more of it. It puts the sign on your back that, hey, you're willing to listen to my drama and my gossip. Mm. And I remember this been a number of years ago, but I had someone who would only call me to tell me what this other group of people were doing wrong. And I said, you got to stop. I said, first of all, I have individual relationships with all of them. We're all flawed. We all got our quirks, and I don't want to hear about it. But I would encourage you, if you've got issues with them, speak with them directly, but don't call me to bitch about them. Don't. Yeah. And it was weird. I mean, I felt really weird saying that. And yet the call stopped. And when they did call, we didn't talk about other people. But it was like, I thought, oh, as long as someone thinks it's okay to do that with you, you put yourself out there as kind of like the trash can for garbage, right?
Oh, yeah. Perfect analogy.
Well, I've been there, done that. So it's like, I know the analogy. It's like, stop it, and when you make that shift, it's a little jarring for people at first. But then you find the other people who say, oh, I want to hang out with this person. You want to be around this person because it's a good vibe for everybody. You want everybody to succeed. So is that one of the reasons why you say positivity is a superhuman power?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, surround yourself with those positive people, whether they're coaches or colleagues or family or friends. And it could be an inspirational podcast. It could be a book. It could just always surround yourself with positive things, and you'll see the difference. Write positive things. There was a study, and why I say this, because we were talking about journaling earlier. And there was a study, I read about a study that they had 30 people on one side talk about their anxiety, their fears, their pain in their lives for 30 days. And this other group talked about their optimism and their goals and everything else. And they talked about how over that next year, the people that wrote and journaled, recorded the positivity, like they met their goals. They had their aspirations came to fruition. Like everything was going well for them. The negative people, what happened? They stayed stuck. They didn't improve. Most of them in some cases got worse. It's just like, if you start writing, when you write, just keep that positive momentum going. Hey, you know what? If you had a bad day, you know what? What were your lessons for the day? Yeah. Like you can, and what did you learn? Okay, so you got caught up in the gossip and the drama, and you said some things you shouldn't have said. Okay, I learned that I need to remove myself. I learned that I shouldn't do that. That's not fair. I learned that that's not keeping me in a good place. So like we're all gonna slip. We're all gonna have bad days. So just reframe the things that you wish didn't happen into a lesson. Changes things.
And sometimes just laughing at ourselves can help. Like when I say something, I started now, I just say, did I actually say that out loud, you guys? And people go, you did. And I says, sorry. Because first of all, I don't want to be thinking it, let alone spreading it. It's like putting ick on stuff. So, yeah. But when I do that, it's like I lighten up. I don't start blaming myself. It's like, okay, have it, or slips. They happen to all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, as we wrap this up, Bill, If you were to go back to the Bill before you got through all of this challenging stuff, before you wrote your book, and you're back where it's tough and you're wondering about the path forward, what might you say to yourself at that age?
I was so tunnel vision on my own stuff. I really didn't look out for others where I may have been a helping hand. And, that's, a lot of the philanthropic stuff I was motivated to do that because I felt like I didn't do my part at a younger age. I look at my kids, this is kind of a cool story. And I'm so proud to say this so we're doing another marathon for Make-A-Wish, in Providence, not the Boston Marathon, in May. And I get the privilege of running it with my 22-year-old son for Make-A-Wish and my 19-year-old daughter for Make-A-Wish, because they wanted to run. They've never done a marathon. They're not runners. They wanted to do it because they wanted to raise money. And I wasn't there at their age. I cared about what was the next college party and what where was the booze and girls, that, and I didn't care about anything. And my kids want to make a difference. And I think just, that's just so powerful. And I wish I did more of that growing up. So I learned from my kids, and that was my younger self that I wish I did. So we're trying to make peace with the past, remember?
Yep.
So this is my way of doing that.
Well, it sounds like you've had a good run at doing it already, and your kids sound amazing, especially since they're not.
They can be, Sarah. They can be.
Hey, they're your kids. They're not going to be perfect. Remember yourself at that age. Did you think your parents were smart? No, you're still smarter than them. I think it's 25, 26, 27. You start going, I think they might have known a little thing or two.
I wish they would call me to just say, how you doing? Instead of, how you doing? Can I have some money?
Hey, the grandkids do that to us. It's okay.
Yeah.
When that happens, I think I'm so grateful we have money.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful we can say, sure, we can help this time. Because, there was a time in my life where I couldn't do that. So it's that whole okay, I know they're in this teenage years thing. They're great kids. So it's great to have that ability to help them. But all joking aside, that's a powerful thing you've done in your own life. So congrats to you. Great on the Providence coming on up. And Bill, where's the best place for people to connect with you, to learn more about your story, to support the marathon? Any way people want to connect with you, where would you want them to go?
Yeah, thrivinginthestorm.com is our site. I don't know if the marathon, we just finished working on the page, so I don't know if the marathon's up there yet, but that will be. We'll be putting our podcasts are on there. That we've done some resources, free resources. Some of the gratitude stuff and the journaling is on there. Some workbook exercises is in there that's from the book. And we write a weekly blog too. And a lot of our blogs lately has been, what has you stuck? And I'm relating about stuck and what do you not feel capable of doing? And some of the blogs that we try to keep it relevant, and maybe it can, if one of those things can help somebody, be happy to do that.
It will. And you never know. The one person you help may turn around and help thousands of others, and you will never know about it.
That's okay.
That's the purpose, right? You don't need to know everything. You just need to do you. Show up and do you, Bill. Hey, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I'm glad we got this scheduled. Thanks for being flexible with my schedule changes. And to all our listeners out there, Bill mentioned listening to the podcast. I want to encourage you, if you like this episode, please share it with somebody else who could benefit from Bill's story. Go out and share it with those folks. If you feel so inclined, please give it a rating and review. We appreciate all of those. They make a difference, and it helps bring it out globally to people in other parts of our country and the world. So with that, I want to say, let's get out there and do no labels, no limits, living for all of us. Thanks.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/no labels, no limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.